Facebook ad creatives. There's a real art and science behind these, and when we distill this down, really the goal of the creative is to get people to stop the scroll, because if people don't stop scrolling, they're never going to read your ad. And that's a tough job to accomplish because people forget that no one goes on social media to buy something, right? So your ad is very interruptive. They're going on social media to see what their friends are up to see any business that they're already following, to do an escape, right? Just get out of their daily life and go on social media and have a good time. So your ad is getting in the way of that. So your creative has to very intuitively, cleanly, and neatly get them to stop the scroll and read your ad. How on earth do you do that? That's exactly what I'm gonna go over today. What's up, everybody? Alvaro here from Alvaro Barrios Digital. And like I said, today we are talking about how to create high converting Facebook ads creative. Now, when I talk about Facebook ads creative in this sense today, I'm really talking about two types of creative: organic images and graphics. For now, I'm gonna leave out videos simply because videos are a completely different category and the rules they have to follow there are extremely different in terms of how you get an image or a graphic to work best for you. So let's just stick with images and graphics. So let's start with organic because that is the easiest one to test first and move forward with that. So when it comes to an organic image, and when I say that, I literally just mean a plain image, right? There's no text, there's no graphics or things flying around on the screen. It's just what you would expect to just upload from your phone onto a platform with one of your organic posts. So that's what I mean when it comes to organic images, and organic images often can work extremely well. I actually think it's a mistake that people too often simply jump straight to graphics simply because they think that's what an ad is supposed to look like. But I've had a lot of success with just plain images with a lot of my clients. And as a matter of fact, I actually prefer to get plain images to work because at the end of the day, it feels less like an ad, it feels a little bit less intrusive, and so it's a little bit more of a natural experience for people as they're scrolling through the newsfeed. But when you're using a plain image, you're losing a lot of advantages of a graphic in the sense that there's nothing there that you can do to scream, so to speak, to grab people's attention, reel them in. So how to use a plain image to your advantage? Well, the easiest way and the most powerful way is to use images of you in unusual places. Something that really stands out, something that people don't expect to see. So whether this is you being underwater or out in the middle of the desert, those are things that people just don't generally expect to see when they're scrolling through the newsfeed. They really stand out. It's very different from the standard picture someone sees as they're scrolling, and so they're going to be curious, why they're seeing this image of you that is so different from everything else. But then you might be saying, okay, great, that's cool, but I don't have pictures of myself in unusual places. I don't have the money to pay for, fancy underwater photography or travel out to the middle of the desert and do a photo shoot. That's too complicated, too expensive. So what do I do in this case? Well, in this case, what you can do is that you can still use images of yourself, but make sure that it's not the standard image that you would see. So what's the standard image that you would see of people posting and uploading on Facebook? It's of people there smiling, right? It's a selfie smiling or a group photo smiling. It's all these smiling photos. And I'm not saying that smiling photos are bad, but it's just what people are used to seeing. They expect to see that. So what if you were actually to post a photo of you actually frowning? Imagine someone scrolling through the newsfeed, they're seeing all these smiley faces, and all of a sudden there's you right there with a frowning face, right? It's just unexpected. People don't usually see that on the platform, and I've tested this myself, and it has worked extremely well with one of my clients. So that's one thing you can do. Or the other trick that you can do is, at the end of the day, people love dogs. If you have a dog and it's a very cute dog, no one can resist a cute dog. So post a picture up there. Even if you're not in the pet industry, people are going to want to see that cute dog and then see what your ad is all about. So those are some easy ways to test some plain images to see if they can get to work to you. Now, one thing I do want to stress though is that it all comes down to testing, right? At the end of the day, I have used images of people smiling and have had great success with them. But I would say more often than not, these other style of images of you in unusual places, frowning, a dog in your picture, it's easier to get those going than just an image of you smiling. But like I said, there's no absolutes in this. It always comes down to testing. All right, cool. So now let's move on to graphics. How do you get a graphic to work for you? So the first step with a graphic is that you want to use a strong contrasting color. So think about where your ads are going to appear: Facebook and Instagram. What are the predominant colors that people see when they're on Facebook and Instagram? Well, on Facebook, it's going to be blue and white. And then on Instagram, it's really going to mostly just be white, depending on what what screen they're on. They might see a little bit of that pink from the Instagram logo, but it's really mostly white. So that's what you're working with. So you really need to pick images that stand out in the newsfeed. So some of my favorite colors to use are things like yellow, orange, pink, if that matches your brand. Red obviously stands out a lot. Those things are high contrasting colors, and they catch people's attention because it's not something that they're used to seeing on the platform. And also think about the fact that, let's just say your ad is appearing on the right hand column on the Facebook desktop newsfeed. If you're not having a contrasting color, I can promise you 0% of people will be looking at your ad if you're in the right hand column. You need that strong contrasting color for people's eyes to glaze over and actually see your ad in the right hand column. So again, always think of these colors that you can be utilizing. Ones that I'm not fans of using would be blue. I don't like using that simply because, again, Facebook, there's a lot of blue on there. I don't like using green too much simply because, you know, it's still very similar to blue. I don't like using soft grays or anything like that. I don't like using black either simply because a lot of other graphics that I see out there are utilizing black. So, you know, keep that in mind. Always look at what your competition is doing and try to use different colors from what they are using. So then on top of that, the other thing that you want to do with graphics is that you want to avoid graphics that are very, very heavy in text. The graphics that are very heavy in text just kind of look like spam, right? If your ad screams that it's an ad, most people are going to just ignore it and keep on scrolling, right? So whatever text that you actually end up adding to your graphic, you want to make sure it's very subtle and it's very clean, right? It's not overwhelming. It still delivers value. It's still something that gets them to stop the scroll and pay attention, but don't just have a vomit of words, so to speak, on your graphic. And then lastly, and this might be the most important factor, is that you want to use a font that is very easy and legible, because I see a lot of people, they like to use like these fancy cursive fonts or swirly fonts and stuff like that. They look cool, don't get me wrong, but they're hard to read. And so if it's hard to read, people are going to completely tune out. They're not going to even know what you're saying, and they're just going to keep on scrolling by. So you're actually going to want to stick with kind of the more boring standard fonts that are just plain and simple and easy to read, and that's what's actually going to get people to actually consume your ad, stop scroll, and read the remainder of your ad. So those are the tips I have for you today in order to create high converting graphics or plain images. As always, let me know in the comments below if you have any questions. Here are 2 more videos for you to check out. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you next time.